Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Scott Murphy, a 2021 Democratic candidate for City Council District 34, which covers portions of the neighborhoods of Bushwick, Ridgewood, and Williamsburg. I moved to New York about 10 years ago from Chicago, where I've been an active volunteer in the community as an EMT with the Ridgewood Volunteer Ambulance Corps. And through that, I feel like I've met a lot of members of the community and have a pretty good understanding of kind of the current and actionable needs of my neighbors. Um, Many people living in the district struggle with myriad challenges, from affording rent to getting jobs that pay a living wage to something as simple as dealing with alternate side parking. And some of those rules that just don't make any sense. I believe that if we take a more human-centric approach to local government, we'll make people's lives better and allow them to achieve more. I'm running for New York City Council now because I believe we need fresh ideas and a new perspective to take on the challenges we face and help the communities of District 34 thrive. The status quo isn't getting the job done, but I know I have the experience, passion, and know-how to create the change District 34 needs. So yeah, that's kind of my intro.
Perfect. I was just pausing my timer real quick. I'll get better at that as it goes along. So the first question is pretty simple. We just want to know your viability and your path to victory. So basically, tell us why you're going to win the city council.
Yeah, I think I've done a lot in a very short period of time. I entered the race in February, officially, certifying with the Campaign Finance Board. In about 2 weeks, within about 2 weeks of that certification, I raised, over $10,000 and over 80 in-district donors, again, in just a short, 2-week period of time, and have obviously raised more money since then. So I think it's a lot of momentum in a short period of time, and it shows, that people, my neighbors, are looking for a change in direction and thinking. They're looking for fresh ideas, and I think I can deliver on that. We've had Antonio Reynoso for the last 8 years, and I think he tried to accomplish a lot, and he did accomplish a lot. But I think in speaking to my neighbors, particularly during petitioning and kind of boots on the ground fundraising, I think they're looking for some fresh ideas.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So the third question is, over the last 40 years, rents in New York City have risen at roughly twice the pace that they did in the 40 years prior. What is your solution to address the rent affordability crisis the city currently faces?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think we need to build more affordable housing, and I think that can happen through things like partnerships with people like Riseboro. The street I live on Troutman in Bushwick, and there's a couple of Riseboro buildings right around me, and they're extremely affordable housing. I think force developers to build a significantly higher percentage of affordable units in these new buildings. And I think it's important to ensure when we talk about affordable units, we talk about genuinely affordable units. The average hourly income of people living within District 34 is between $17 and $20 an hour. So if you set the minimum income of a lottery-based affordable housing unit at $70,000, the average household in the district is not going to be able to afford that. So I think just being more realistic about overall, affordable housing. And then I think pressuring the federal government to adjust the AMI to better fit community incomes. I think if we're realistic about, the average household income, we'll have more affordable housing units available for people to rent.
Perfect. And then the fourth question. So since the start of what is your vision for a full COVID recovery?
Yeah, I mean, obviously getting kids back to school, I think that's super important, but real help for small businesses, especially those with excessive back rent. I think we need to make sure that small business owners, which are the backbone of our community, get money in their pockets to pay rent, to pay comfortable wages to their employees. But then I think also, large investments in green infrastructure projects that, again, will lead to good paying local jobs. I think, when we look at particularly the neighborhood of Ridgewood, it's very focused on small business. And I think ensuring that those small businesses can not only stay open, but also, thrive as we are, beginning to recover from COVID, I think is super critical. And then expanding medical clinics in underserved neighborhoods, making sure that everyone has access to the vaccine, everyone has access to affordable medical care. Again, as an EMT on the Ridgewood Volunteer Ambulance Corps, I interact with neighbors that, are obviously seeking medical care. And, we want to make sure that they can get affordable medical care. And then, I think this term kind of gets thrown around, the Green New Deal. But I do think that investing in green infrastructure in New York City will help lead the way to COVID recovery. Obviously, anyone who's been driving in the neighborhood lately knows that, we need repaved roads, we need better sidewalks, we need all of these things. And I think, again, they can lead to high-paying, local union jobs that can help our neighbors directly and help with recovery from COVID.
Perfect. You're doing so well on timing.
Yeah, I mean, I wish this was way more of a dialogue because I'm so much better when we're just having a discussion, but,
Yeah, we're trying to keep things fair, being that we are, an arm of the Democratic Party, if you will. So we need to keep things kind of even keeled. But yeah, no, that's totally understandable, and we will field a few questions as well. So since the start of the pandemic, this is the fourth question, by the way. Since the start of the pandemic, a lot of attention has been paid on where budgets need to be cut. But coming out of the pandemic, where do you see opportunities for growth, and what sort of revenue generators can the city employ?
Yeah, I mean, I think, first thing I'll say is tax the rich. If you're a wealthy person living in New York, you need to pay your fair share. That's super important to me. I would reduce or eliminate city income tax on low income earners. If you're earning, say, less than $150,000 a year, or whatever number we end up landing on, you shouldn't be paying as much, or certainly potentially any city income tax. And that may be controversial, but I think again, tax the rich. Let them pay their fair share. I think definitely a tax on pied-à-terres, people who have second homes in New York City that they don't live in full time. I think separately a tax on that. Higher corporate taxes. Again, we need to make sure that people who are that businesses that are earning money off of New Yorkers are paying their fair share of taxes. And then I think also it's less about generating more revenue and more about using our resources more efficiently and more effectively. And then certainly, money from the NYPD, they have an $11 billion budget overall, including settlement funds and things like that. And I think that we should redirect some of those resources to supporting our communities and meeting the unmet needs of our neighbors. I think the NYPD thinks they need such a big budget because there are neighbors that have unmet needs, which force them to do things that they maybe wouldn't necessarily otherwise want to do. And I think if we started spending more money on those unmet needs, we wouldn't need as much policing. And then I think just getting other people's expert opinions. One of the things I think, the core tenets of my campaign is that, I may not be the smartest guy in the room, but I sure am going to make sure that I'm getting the smartest people into a room to make plans and make decisions about how we could better spend our dollars. So yeah, I think there's definitely opportunities for more revenue, but I think also just, analyzing and auditing the way we're spending our dollars now and making sure that, we're doing it efficiently and that it's resulting in the types of results that we're looking for.
Perfect. I gave you a few more seconds. You were doing so good on the other ones. You've accrued some extra time. So the last question, which actually I don't think Missy got a chance to ask Juan, but we will ask you. If you're comfortable disclosing, do you have a choice for mayor? And you can, if you want to give us a ranked choice vote option, you can. But if you want to stay out, we also understand.
No, I have an extremely confident choice for mayor. It's Diane Morales. I think she would be an excellent choice for mayor. And honestly, I've been trying to endorse her. So if any of you guys know her, give her my phone number and my email address, because I think she's amazing. I think she has great ideas for the city, and I'm very confident that she would be an excellent mayor for New York City.
You know, that's actually refreshing to hear, though, like people putting it out there, because some candidates, especially ones who haven't won or who haven't who haven't been in the public sector yet, or in an elected position, are kind of nervous to draw lines because they don't want to alienate anyone. So that's it's nice to hear that you have a choice. Okay, and then yes, you got 2 minutes for a closing statement. But again, yeah, please, if you can, focus more on the Ridgewood side, just because that's the people that are attending.
Yeah, of course. Again, I think I know the Ridgewood community fairly well, but I think more importantly than what I know is what I want to hear from the neighbors. What do they need? Um, but I think most importantly, again, it's large investments in small business and the arts community in Ridgewood. One of the things that I'm extremely passionate about is ending alternate side parking. Generally speaking, alternate side parking can be a tax on the poor. If you receive an alternate side parking ticket and a tow, that can be upwards of $300. And then with storage fees and things like that, it can be a question of whether or not you can pay your rent or feed your family. And I think we should stop that. And I don't think it does a great job of cleaning the streets anyway. And then I think investing in overall quality of life in the Ridgewood community, more green spaces, um, improving to the extent that we can our city services, and then expanding access to micromobility. I think for New York City residents, City Bike should be free. I work for Revel. I think expanding access to Revel within all parts of Queens, but overall just enhancing our available transportation options. And then, lastly, I've proposed introducing what I'm calling an alternative transportation allowance, which would be where if you can show me that you sold your car, we'll give you a monthly allowance towards other modes of transportation, be it, Revel, be it City Bike, be it Uber, Lyft, car sharing, all of those kinds of things to kind of alleviate the overall burden of car ownership, but also, limiting the number of privately owned cars that we have in our neighborhoods. So yeah, hope that answers a lot of your questions.
Yeah, that was good. And again, timing wise, you were like almost exactly at 2 minutes. So
Cool.
if you've got some time, like basically you still have, since you kept it pretty short, we have 7 minutes for questions for you, not just 5 minutes.
Cool.
But there's a few that were in the chat. I am going to, so Charlene she was the one that was asking about Grover Cleveland Park. And so just knowing how the district is split, Grover Cleveland oddly is like, so Woodward goes down to where the district ends, goes down to where the park would be, but then circles around the park. So your district encompasses the park, District 30 encompasses the high school. So it kind of becomes this kind of no man's land, if you will. And for a lot of people, like Charlene is mentioning, it is one of the few green spaces, large green spaces, particularly in that area, and is a go-to area. So if you have any thoughts, I realize this is a very specific topic, but because she raised it, I just want to make sure that we ask it. If you have any specific thoughts on how to better equip, or at least better fund, or just get people to get the city to appreciate Grover Cleveland Park like they would if it was in the center of our district.
Sure. Yeah, I actually do have some thoughts on this. So prior to COVID, I was in the process of starting what we were going to call Friends of Maria Hernandez Park, which was a public-private partnership between citizens like me and the Parks Department. The Parks Department itself has a tremendous team that enables these types of things. I think investigating some type of public-private partnership for Grover Cleveland Park, whether it's between the Parks Department and the school, Department of Education, and a public-private entity like a Friends of organization, I think would be huge. And then I think also just, better understanding of how the budget is distributed across all parks. I think the Parks Department is struggling with, how to spend their dollars and where the investments are most needed. And then I also think, the process of improving New York City parks is incredibly onerous and bureaucratic. And I think we need to do things like, in technology, we call them sandboxing. I think we need to eliminate some of the regulatory overhead that exists in improving these parks so that, people can not have to, walk too far to get to a green space that's good for them. Hopefully, Charlene, that answers your question.
Yeah, that was also good on timing. So let me see. I know Frank had a question. You spoke about change of direction from the current administration. Can you give us any specific examples or exactly what are the most important things you think need to change?
Well, I can tell you one thing. I'm not super focused on the Department of Sanitation and giant, district rezoning plans. I've never run for office. I've never held public office. I consider that to be a good thing. I think we need to focus on our neighbors. We need to focus on the community as a whole. I've lived in Bushwick for 2 years and been on the Ridgewood Volunteer Ambulance Corps for 3 years. I never met Reynoso, very active in the community, never saw him. I think local politics has to be local. All of you can have my email address. All of you can email me. All of you can call me anytime you have a problem. I'm here to be a representative of the people of this district. And I think to me, that's the biggest change, is that I want to make sure that I'm here for everyone and that I can, if I get elected and you call my office, you might get me, you might get a staffer, but one way or another, we're going to help you solve your problem. And I think that's potentially the biggest difference, is boots on the ground.
Great. And then we had one more question, which is from Brandon, who actually liked your idea of the car share thing, or not the car share, but exchanging for if you sell your vehicle. But he was wondering, since most residents don't own vehicles, how would you manage street cleaning if you do not do opposite side street cleaning?
I would do it exactly the way we did it before we had street sweepers. I would, for example, potentially, big fancy business improvement districts in Manhattan have people like the Doe Fund and Ready, Willing, and Able, which provides, an unbelievable service to our city, but also vocational training and all of that. I would take some of those discretionary funds that city council members have and fund a Ready, Willing, and Able group to come and help clean our streets. There's no reason why we can't have high-paying jobs, comfortable wages. People talk about living wages. Living wages are stressful. Living wages means you're living from paycheck to paycheck. You have no savings. If something falls through, you're in trouble. I think we need to focus on comfortable wages, but I would hire somebody like Ready, Willing, and Able to come and help clean the streets. In Bushwick, we have Clean Bushwick, which is a great group. I think potentially forming a group of volunteers in Ridgewood to help keep the streets clean in Ridgewood. I also think it doesn't mean that we're not working with the Department of Sanitation. I think the Department of Sanitation does a great job when they're funded and when they're given the resources that they need. But I think overall there is much more harm done by street cleaning or by alternate side parking and street cleaning than there is clean streets. So hopefully that answers your question, Brandon.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't think we have anything else. And that's about it on time. You have about a minute left if you have anything to say in closing before we give you the boot.
Yeah, no, the only thing I would say is I think that in the past, Council District 34 has been very focused on Brooklyn. I'm extremely proud that it's a dual borough district, and I'm here to say that I love Queens as much as I love Brooklyn. So especially given my my time with Ridgewood Volunteer Ambulance Corps. So I'm here to support any efforts in either Queens or Brooklyn.